Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing really well. I realized that I'm overdue for an Empties video. It has been over 2 months since I filmed my last one, and this year I've been trying to kind of keep up on a every other month schedule so that I can get rid of some of my beauty trash. So today we're going to be going through all of my Empties for hair care, skincare, and quite a bit of makeup actually that I've amassed for July, August, and these early parts of September. I don't want to make this video too long. There are quite a few products here in front of me and you can see what the timestamp is on this video. So I know it's gonna be a long one just given the volume of stuff and the rambles that I always have. So let's just freaking hop right on into it with one hair care product. I've only finished one hair care product since my last Empties video, and it is this right here. This is the Bottle None shampoo bar. This is the Be Clear version, and it is for oily hair, and it's a clarifying formulation. I decided to pick this up because I realized how much waste I was amassing just through shampoo and conditioner bottles. And I'm not that extra with my hair. Like, I don't really use that many other hair products than those, but it did feel like it was a substantial amount of waste. So I wanted to switch over to bar shampoos and conditioners to try a lower waste version. And this was my very first foray into shampoo bars. I picked this up a couple months back and it was okay. Right off the hop, it felt really good on my scalp. It was not irritating. I do have a fragrance allergy. I do have very oily hair as well that needs to be washed pretty much every single day. And it wasn't any sort of issue for me to get this to lather, and it left my hair feeling very clean. However, after only about a month's use, it started to crumble, and it still had, like, it was still a sizable bar, but it started to crumble and pieces would come off very frequently. And it's not that I was being overly aggressive with it or anything like that, it just was very fragile. And so this is not something that I would recommend because it was really difficult to use once it started falling apart. I wanted to find something that was, although not the same as a liquid kind of formula, something that I could just use with ease. And this was not it after that 1 month kind of mark. It just was so hard to want to reach for it too. It started to feel like a little bit of a chore because I'd have to pick up several small little pieces, kind of work them between my hands and like run them in my scalp, but then I would drop them in the shower or I'd lose one in my hair, and it just wasn't that fun after it started to fall apart. So I have actually purchased an Ethique one because I did get several recommendations to try out that brand from you guys over the last couple of months as I've kind of been on this journey. So I've picked one up, I have it on order. I'm so excited to give that a try. I hope that it has kind of more of that longevity than this one did. But overall, I would say that I'm really excited for my shampoo bar kind of journey, but this one I wouldn't recommend. Moving right along into skincare, let's start with the very first skincare step in my routine. It is a makeup remover. I recently finished off the Inky List Oat Cleansing Balm. This is the second tube of this that I have gone through. The first one I did receive in PR, and then the second one I did purchase on my own. I did really enjoy it both times. I found that this is a really great product for breaking up makeup. It really removes everything. It doesn't irritate my eyes or irritate my skin or leave like a filmy kind of feeling on my skin. I always use a microfiber cloth though to remove both the product and my makeup because I feel like it really takes everything perfectly off so that when I go in with my cleanser, I'm not working other products kind of around with it. Everything is prepped and ready for an actual cleanse. So that's what I do, and I find that this removes beautifully like that. I also prefer that this is in a squeeze tube kind of component because I don't know, it's a bit of a nuisance to have to unscrew something, and then if you don't screw it on right away when your hands just have a tiny bit of product in them, once your hands are wet, it can feel, it just is not pleasant in my opinion. However, I have heard issues where people had the tube kind of split from the top here because the product just wouldn't squeeze out. In my experience with these first two tubes, I did not experience that at all. The consistency was great, but I did repurchase this and the consistency is not the same this time around. And it may be because it's summertime, I'm not sure, but it's really inconsistent. It has some spots that are more oily, sometimes it spews out a little bit, and then other times it comes out as more of a true balm. and I don't know how to mix the two together. I've tried to like squeeze the tube to kind of stir things around together. And for some reason it still is inconsistent. I leave it in my bathroom where there's a lot of heat and steam, of course, but that's always been the case with the other two that I purchased. So I'm thinking that once I finish that one up, I'm likely going to try to explore some other options. So if you have any suggestions for me of a makeup remover that comes in a squeeze tube like this, or in some other sort of easier applicator kind of packaging, please let me know. And I do really enjoy that this is more affordable as well, but I'm also willing to spend a little bit more money if the product actually works properly. For the first two, absolutely no problems. Did truly recommend it, but I am running into some inconsistencies now in the third batch, and ready to explore some other options. My tried and true Pacifica Kale Detox Deep Cleaning Face Wash is one that I run through very regularly. It is a staple in my Empties videos, so I don't want to talk about it too much here. But I do have normal skin, and I find that this is very effective at leaving my skin feeling very clean. It feels like everything has been removed from my skin in terms of like product, but it doesn't strip the oils of my skin either. So it just leaves my skin feeling very fresh, clean, and ready for the remainder of my skincare routine. But even when I had dry skin, when I was on an acne medication, like a oral acne medication, I also used this and found that it was perfect for me, even though this is technically targeted to be for oily and blemish prone skin types. It worked for me when I had very oily and blemish prone skin back in the day before I went on that medication. It has just been an absolute staple in my life for years now, and I don't see myself ever straying from it. I can't fault this product. It does have fragrance in it, and I don't find any sort of irritation from it. It's just been a tried and true for a lifetime, it feels like, and I'll never stray from it again. I did actually try this out. I've had this in my life for a couple years. This was something that my sister actually gifted me in like a little Pacifica set. This is the Coconut Milk Cream to Foam Face Wash. So like I said, had this for years. I think I got this in 2020 from her, and I did like it. It was actually a nice cleanser, but I oftentimes forgot to reach for it just because I do love the Kale Detox. But I would keep this in the shower towards the tail end of its lifetime because I found that this was actually a really great cleanser to use in the morning times. Sometimes I shower in the morning, not often, but sometimes when I shower in the morning, I kind of want to do a little bit more of a skincare routine versus on every other day. I literally just use a damp face cloth and kind of remove everything and start over. I don't cleanse my skin at all in the morning. But then also this was great for at nighttime, those days when I would wash my face right after work, put on a moisturizer just so that I had something on my skin so it didn't feel, you know, totally bare. And then I'd take a shower before I went to bed. And sometimes you just kind of want to re-clean your skin while you're in the shower because that's kind of part of the routine. So this was something that I just oftentimes use in the shower. It had a really great suds to it, really nice scent. It had this like sweet kind of coconut fragrance that I really did enjoy. And overall, it was a good cleanser, but it didn't leave my skin feeling as deeply cleansed as the Kale Detox does. And for that very reason, I didn't really want to ever use this as a cleanser right after removing my makeup because I just love the clean feeling that the other face wash gives me. Not that this left a residue or anything like that. It just didn't feel as clean, as perfect. I don't know how to describe it other than that. It just had a bit more of a moisturizing property to it. And then I also recently finished off something that I feel like I have in my Empties very frequently. It is the Cocoa Kind Rosewater Toner. This is a fabulous product. I feel like it has this indescribable quality that, yeah, I just can't describe, but it is a really great product. I apply it just in my hands. So I'll use the spray to just apply it in my hands and kind of work it into the skin. It leaves my skin feeling very hydrated, very nourished, but also cleansed at the same time. But I don't kind of go through the routine of using this on a cotton pad because I feel like those kind of take up a lot of the product, like soak up a lot of the product, and they can be a little bit abrasive on my skin sometimes, even though it's cotton. Like I have reusable cotton rounds. I just feel like I want to get really scrubby in there. I have this like mentality of like, really trying to pull everything off my skin when I use something like that. So just to avoid it, I spray this into my hands. I also really enjoy using this actually as like a last step in my makeup routine. Some of those days where I put maybe a little bit too much powder, things look a little bit cakey, I would spray this on and it would just bring everything right back to life. And no, it's not meant to be a makeup product, but it just balanced out the skin in a really beautiful way. I will repurchase this for sure. I don't have it in my rotation quite yet. However, I have gone through numerous bottles of this and I know that I will come back around to it as well. I have so many of these spray bottles sitting around in various places in my house. I have them kind of sitting by some of my plants so I can spray them with some water midweek between waters, give them a little bit of extra hydration. I just really love that this is also in a glass packaging that is that reusable. The pump on it, or like the spray component rather, is very effective as well, never gets clogged or weird. I've just truly enjoyed this product every single time that I have purchased it. And I've also finished off a couple of the Ultra Repair creams. I always have these in the rotation. I always have these on hand. These are both the 8-ounce tub or squeeze tube. One lives in my bathroom cabinet at all times. One lives up here in my beauty room with me at all times. It's just a staple for me because it's unscented. It just does the dang trick for absolutely everything. Whether I have a rash, I have just dryness on my skin, I need something to moisturize my hands, it is just my go-to. I have 2 of the tubs in my life right now. Again, one in the bathroom and one up here. And it's just a absolute staple for me because it's just a good old basic but reliable moisturizer. And lastly for skincare, before we hop into makeup here, I finished off a sunscreen. This is the Supergoop Glow Screen. I'm so happy that I decided to kind of dedicate some time and get this finished up in the summertime because this does have a kind of beigey tint that I find is a little bit too deep for me during the winter time. In the summertime, this is a good color for me, but I don't love this as much as I've heard other people rave about it. I think I hear so many people say it just looks like perfect skin. It just looks so beautiful. But I always apply 2 finger lengths worth of sunscreen, no matter what the formulation is. And when I apply that much on my face from this, it just looks so metallic. Like, the bounce back of the light is just too drastic. It looks cakey, it looks makeup-y, and it just isn't flattering in my opinion. I just found it was too much. It would settle into my lines on my forehead and my smile lines and my neck lines too. It would settle everywhere. And I personally didn't really enjoy it. If I was using it in a smaller amount, I think it would look really beautiful. But when you're using the volume that you should be using for proper sunscreen coverage, it's just too much. And yeah, overall, I did not enjoy it. And I feel like that's kind of controversial, but that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. So makeup, I have quite an expansive amount of makeup products here that I've used up. Some of them have been in my life for far too long, so this feels freaking good. Let's kick it off with a primer that I finished off, and I've had this in my life since, I kid you not, 2018. So it was due time. This is the First Aid Beauty Hello Fab Pores Be Gone Matte Primer. This is actually quite large for a primer. It has 50 milliliters of product, so almost double what a traditional primer contains. And I really enjoyed it. It does have a kind of like watermelon scent to it, and I didn't find that that irritated my skin whatsoever. And it has this beautiful kind of smoothing but natural kind of finish to the skin as well. It definitely did fill in the look of my pores, kind of minimize and blur the look of the pores, but it didn't leave my skin feeling clogged. It definitely didn't make my skin look overly matte or dry, but it did have this quality to it that did keep the oils at bay throughout the day, and I really did like it. However, I'm not going to repurchase it just because of the amount of time that it took me to use up. I have other primers in my life. I have the Fenty, like the original Fenty primer that I feel like is a good alternative to this. It's much more of a lotion consistency versus this one is more of like a cream kind of consistency. but overall what it does on the skin in terms of blurring properties and like smoothing kind of effect, I feel like they are one and the same. So I'm not going to purchase this, but it is something that I feel like is a really great product. I really did enjoy it. I mostly used it in the summertime because of that property that does keep the oils at bay. But I did find that I could use it even in the winter when my skin is a little bit more dry if I just wanted a little bit more of a smooth canvas to kind of start off with. A couple of powders have been removed from my collection, which feels so good. The first one I have here is the Essence Color Correcting Mattifying Powder in the shade 10 Beautiful Finish. I had this in my life again for far too long. I think like 2016 or 2017 I brought it into my life, which is just absurd that things have been kicking around for so long, but thank goodness it is gone. It was originally like this mosaic of peach, pink, green, so just like a multicolored mosaic, and I broke it long ago, so it just turned into this kind of like off pink, peachy kind of color. But I didn't find that the color actually did anything to my skin. It actually just acted basically as a translucent powder in my opinion. And it was okay. It fit the bill just fine. The packaging broke really early on in my lifetime with this. I think within the first year, the packaging kind of busted. That's a given with Essence compacts though. I feel like it's just like bound to happen. But I did really feel like this was an okay product. That's why I never ended up decluttering it over the years. But it's not something I would run out and repurchase. I don't even think that it's available anymore now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, it never was something that wowed me, but it wasn't something that I disliked. And yeah, I'm so happy to see this gone. It has been in my life for eons and eons. And this as well, this is the Milani Conceal and Perfect Shine Proof Powder in the shade 03 Natural Light. I finished this up recently in my project pan, as you may know. And wow, this is something that had been in my life for also far too long. So this just felt really good to finally get it used up. This was a tinted powder, so it did have coverage. I really enjoyed using it oftentimes kind of as a powder foundation, like a lightweight kind of powder foundation. It created a really even kind of look on the skin, very uniform. It did definitely help to keep oils at bay, but it never looked too dry or too matte or too cakey on the skin in my opinion. If I used like a more loosely packed brush, I could also just use it as a very soft setting powder. And overall, it was a good product. It was something that I enjoyed every time that I did focus on using it up, and in the process of finishing it up, I did really enjoy it, but I'm not going to repurchase it. I have purchased the Cheekbone Beauty kind of translucent powder, and I recently just got a Colourpop Pretty Fresh powder in PR as well. So I've kind of replaced both of these with new options, and that feels so good because these were sticking around for so long. I'm ready to try something new. For a foundation, I recently finished off just this little deluxe size sample, but nevertheless, it was something that lasted me over 20 uses. I had tracked it, and I think it was 22 uses collectively that it took me to get through this. This is the Tarte C Hydroflex Serum Foundation. This was in the shade 25N Light Medium Neutral. It was a great product for me to use in the summertime. This color was really great in the beginning parts of summer for me. It just felt and looked like skin. It did have this kind of maybe orange kind of scent to it, like citrusy almost kind of scent to it, which I didn't mind and I didn't feel like caused any sort of irritation on my skin. But for that reason, I don't really feel inclined to repurchase this. I really did like the way that this looked though. It was a very thin kind of watery consistency that I felt like just kind of smoothed onto the skin effortlessly. It really worked its way in to become one with my skin, and I enjoyed it so much for that very reason. But the Complexion Rescue, we know, holds a special place in my heart. And so if I'm looking for a lighter kind of coverage product, which is my go-to these days, I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to stick with that hands down forever and always, I feel like. So it was really fun to try this out and to get it used up, but I am happy to be working it out of my collection. Now, it was one of the newer kind of foundations in my collection. I brought it in last year. It was like a gift with purchase or a code or something from Sephora. I brought it in only last year, but it feels good to bring my foundation numbers down by one, regardless of it being a mini and a newer product to me. And then I finished off this, which I used as a foundation mixer. This is the First Aid Beauty Hello Fab Bendy Avocado Concealer in the shade 6. You can see it is completely scraped out. I took out the stopper a couple weeks back, and I was using this as a liquid bronzer and using it also as a foundation mixer. None of my foundations match me at the moment. I have to mix them with something in this late part of the summer. And I am on a foundation no-buy, so I'm not picking up something that will suit me just for these last kind of couple weeks of summer. So I was using this, really enjoyed it for that. I did purchase it actually with that intention that I would use it in that way. And so I'm happy after having had it for a couple years at this point that it's finally used up. And that does bring down my liquid and cream bronzer numbers because that's where I did categorize it in my collection. And it's a near impossible feat to use up liquid and cream bronzer. So it feels good to kind of bring that category down. I did have this actually in a color that matched me at the time that I did bring this into my life. So I knew I really liked the formula, and that's why I ended up deciding to get this. I previously had the shade 2 that I would use like under my eyes and on my skin, and it just had this very blendable kind of quality to it. It sat really well with all different types of formulations of primers and foundations, and I just felt like it was a really good kind of all-around concealer for me. Not incredibly too much coverage or cakiness, but a very natural kind of look, and that's why I decided that I would try this in a deeper shade to kind of mix it with all different types of foundations, all different types of concealers, and to sit on top of those kinds of products as well. And it blended effortlessly. It worked its way into those products effortlessly every single time. Another recent project pan empty here. This is the e.l.f. Beautifully Bare Liquid Eyeshadow in the shade Nude Linen. I finished this up in my project pan after I think it had surpassed or just about hit 150 uses this year. And it was a good kind of eyeshadow primer. It's actually technically a liquid eyeshadow, but I used it as a primer because this shade was kind of like this beigey color that was just perfect for my skin, and it held up really well. It did adhere just fine. I don't miss it. I definitely don't miss it. It wasn't something that I was unhappy to use, but I got this as a gift with purchase from an e.l.f. order, I believe in like 2019. And so it just kind of sat around in my collection going unused. And I just decided I wanted to use it up instead of decluttering it. So I was neither here nor there really about it. It fit the bill just fine. Primers are not the most exciting category for me to purchase or to use up. So I'm happy it's freaking gone, that is for sure. This is something that I believe is discontinued, so you can't even go pick it up, and I don't know, would you want to? Would you care? I don't think so. I didn't really care. I was just glad to get it gone. And I finished off actually 2 setting sprays, the only 2 setting sprays that I had in my collection for the majority of this year actually. One being this right here, the Cover FX, looks like it's like cakey. Anyways, the Cover FX High Performance Setting Spray. I've had this for absolutely eons. Again, we know that I've had this for so long because it's been on my channel many, many times over the last few years. I did not really enjoy the way that this felt on the skin. I found that it was very much a hairspray for your face kind of product, and it would just make my forehead feel tight, and I'd almost like over emote my forehead because of that tightness, and therefore it would like create these lines in my forehead where the foundation and stuff was like settling. It just wasn't pleasant, and I'm really trying to avoid making it obvious that I have forehead wrinkles, like try to keep that as smooth and as productless as possible. So I mostly just use this to foil eyeshadows. Every once in a while I would use it to like kind of dampen my sponge when I was applying powder underneath my eyes, but I had to be very careful with that because again, because of its like sticky kind of hairspray kind of quality, sometimes it just did me dirty, but I'm happy it's gone. After forever of having this in my life and never really loving on it, I'm happy it is gone. I also finished off this guy right here. This is the Giovanni Nourishing Facial Prime and Setting Mist. This is the Hemp and Aloe one. This was a really nice kind of priming spray, setting spray, refreshing kind of spray. Overall, I did enjoy it. I felt like it was really great. The sprayer on it was really nice too. It created a very even mist. It's empty, so you cannot see that, but it had a very even mist that just kind of was very soft. It wasn't ever spurting out too much product or creating any sort of like inconsistent droppage on the face. That's the term I'm gonna use. Yeah, for sure, droppage. I got this in PR from Look Fantastic and I was grateful to have tried it out. It was something that I had never seen anyone else talk about. Overall, I was really happy and impressed with it. But when it comes to setting spray, I'm not ever like, you know, loyal to any of them. I always want to try something else out new. And so I won't repurchase this. I did recently, like I said, I got PR from Colourpop. I'm now an affiliate, so I got a PR package of items that I got to select. And so I selected the Pretty Fresh setting spray as well because I had used up the final two in my collection. So I wanted to replace them with the Pretty Fresh, which is something that I had actually been very much interested in for a while because I've heard so many people talk very, very highly of that, but I haven't yet tried it, so I'm not entirely sure what I think about it, but I'm looking forward to trying that as an alternative to these ones, especially going into the winter time. And yeah, the empties just keep coming. I just said and I also finished off this Bite Beauty, this is the Upswing Mascara Mini. I've gone through several of these in the past. This is one that I did purchase for myself, however, but I've gone through a couple minis. So you already know I love this formula. That's why I bought it like in bulk at the beginning of this year. Before Bite had announced that they were closing, they had them on super deals. And I picked up quite a few because I really enjoyed the formulation. I love the effect. I am wearing it today, not this specific bottle, but I am wearing it today on my upper lashes. On my lower lashes, I'm wearing a different mascara because I'm extra like that. On the upper lashes, you can see it just creates this really separated, very voluminous, lengthened kind of look. I think it just does it all when it comes to everything that I want from a mascara, which is just like ultimate definition, separation, length, and volume. Give it to me, give it all to me, and that's what I get with this. I think it just is such a beautiful formula. It's really unfortunate that I don't think you can get it. So my review is pointless and I'm sorry to have tempted you because I don't think you can get your hands on it now. Maybe at like Winners or Marshalls or something like that, you could grab it. It's just a beautiful formula and I'm gonna have to start exploring eventually, trying to find an alternative for it. I don't know. I just love the way that it applies and the result that it gives me. It never smudges or transfers. By the time I get towards the end of it, so like about that 2.5, 3 month kind of time frame, it sometimes will flake. It could get a little bit itchy on the eyes, and that's when I know that it's done. But it takes until the end of its lifetime to get there. And usually a mascara lasts for about a 3-month time span, minis included. For me, they still seem to last for 3 months with consistent use. So that's why I prefer to pick up minis when I can, because I don't want to just waste like half the product because it's drying up. I also finished off a eyeliner. This, well, I don't know. Should I consider this a declutter or an empty? I'm not entirely sure. This is the ZC Dear Autumn Ink eyeliner. I think it has a different name on the website, but that's the name it says on this packaging. I'm gonna swatch it and it's probably gonna come out fine, but it's been so inconsistent. Oh yeah, no, didn't come out fine at all. It's been so inconsistent for me that it's just time to say goodbye. I don't feel like I got the amount of uses out of this that I would have liked to. I've had it for just over a year at this point, and unfortunately it just gave up on me. I found maybe after my 3rd or 4th use of it that it was starting to dry up even that early on. I would be able to apply liner on one eye, kind of put the lid back on, shake it around, try the other eye, and by the time I finished the swipe of the second eye, it would be dry, it'd be tugging on itself, but I could still build it up, and it would be a little bit of a nuisance, but I could make it work. But at this point in the game, I don't know, I've probably used it like 30 plus times and it's just not happening anymore. So I decided it's time to say goodbye. I guess, yeah, it's an empty if it's coming out like this. Like, look, there. It is inconsistent. See? See what I mean? I just don't want to bother with it. So I have not repurchased, but I've purchased the Flower Beauty, like kind of liner, like this kind of style. I prefer belt tips because I feel like the shape of it, I can actually use to create the end of my wing. And it just is so easy for my hooded eyes to just use this almost as a guide, as like a stamp. So I purchased the flower one, haven't tried it, don't have it yet in my life. It's from well.ca, so that's where I got the shampoo bar as well. And I'm looking forward to giving that one a go. I do like always having a liquid eyeliner, a black liquid liner in my rotation. They're not an everyday product for me, but it's nice to have something for those times when some looks just call for a little wing, you know? And then lastly, very lastly, is a final product that I also used up in my project pan a couple updates ago. It is the Revolution Pout Bomb Plumping Lip Gloss in the shade Kiss. This is something that I rolled into my project pan because it was my least favorite lip gloss in my collection. And that's not to say it's a terrible product, but I don't miss it. I don't miss it at all now that it's used up. It was kind of a little bit more of a sticky kind of formula, a little bit of a thicker kind of formula. And so it did look, you know, a lot on the lips sometimes. I'd have to really shear it out, really blend it kind of into the lips versus other formulas. They just kind of glide on and they create this perfect kind of look. This was a bit more thick. And because of the color being lighter as well, that milky kind of consistency was very heightened. It also had this very weird kind of clay, minty fragrance. Yeah, it's weird. It smells like the dentist. It smells like the orthodontist. And I couldn't get over that. Like every time I use it, it just took me back to memories for sure. Life with braces, man. I mean, it was not terrible enough to declutter it. It was okay enough for me to get it used up. I work from home, and so I was just basically throwing this on as if it was a lip balm throughout my work day so that I had a little bit of color, a little bit of something on my lips for that feeling of hydration, that feeling of slippiness to it. But I won't repurchase this. I won't recommend it either. Maybe another color would be better so it doesn't look as thick on the lips. I'm not sure. But also didn't really notice a plumping quality whatsoever with it. It just looked thick on the lips. I have rambled far too much for today's video. I have definitely talked your ear off. Please let me know if you have a alternative to the O Cleansing Balm or something kind of similar to it that I should try out next. And otherwise, I am really happy to be getting all these products out of my life. The makeup is very substantial, and this is very exciting for me to like put this volume of makeup empties into my makeup empties for the end of this year. So I hope you're looking forward to my roundup of my makeup empties at the end of 2022 because it's a lot. It's actually pretty impressive. But yeah, that is everything. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye everyone.